Let's carve a scary face this time.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down the most enduring horror films that use an episodic format.
You're not leaving here until you see what's inside lot 249. That was the deal.
We'll be counting made-for-TV movies unless they served as pilot episodes for TV series. A spoiler alert is now in effect. Number 10. Quidan. Anthology films can be a mixed bag. As a result, within a single film, there are usually some stories that stand out a bit more than others. Quidan is something of an outlier in this regard. It's a classically beautiful and thematically consistent anthology effort. The visual aesthetic here is off the charts, while all 4 stories in Quidan possess a melancholy and otherworldly creepiness that underlines these supernatural themes. These are ghost stories for the art house set that also possess enough atmosphere to capture the imaginations of horror fans around the world. Number 9. Dead of Night.
No doubt you thought it would be very amusing to watch my cherished disbeliefs being shattered.
Very clever of us, I must say. I wonder if we have any more surprises up our sleeves.
The 1970s may rightfully be considered a halcyon decade when it comes to horror anthology films, but this doesn't mean that older examples weren't making their mark upon the genre film landscape. Dead of Night is a film from 1945 that plenty of people still love over 75 years after first hitting cinema screens.
I feel as if that room, the one in the mirror, were trying to claim me, to draw me into it.
The main reason for this is the film's final story, the ventriloquist's dummy. It may seem like a well-worn trope, but Michael Redgrave delivers the performance of a lifetime as a man losing his grip on sanity. Meanwhile, the demonic dummy effects are among the creepiest ever filmed, allowing Dead of Night to enter the hallowed halls of horror history. Number 8. Trilogy of Terror.
You've drugged me!
No, dear. I've killed you.
The 70s weren't just one of the best times for anthology horror films, but also a decade when made-for-TV movies ruled the airwaves. Trilogy of Terror is one of the best remembered small-screen shockers, thanks to the generation of kids traumatized by the anthology's final story, Amelia.
I don't know where I'm located! Just get the police! It's an emergency!
Cult actress Karen Black plays the lead in all 3 stories, but it's in Amelia where she's truly allowed to go off the rails with her performance. Black's battle against a possessed Zuni fetish doll is a sequence for the ages, and that final shot of the actress possessed by the doll's evil spirit still gives us nightmares. Number 7. Asylum.
Rest in pieces.
Hammer Films may be Britain's best-known horror export, but it was Amicus Productions that helped to develop some of the country's best horror anthologies. In fact, many all-time classics were released under the Amicus banner, like 1972's Asylum.
So that's it. You're a murderer.
This anthology has a stacked cast that includes Peter Cushing, Britt Ekland, Patrick McGee, and more. Those with automatonophobia, otherwise known as a fear of mannequins and other human-like figures, may find the film's final story, Mannequins of Horror, particularly disturbing.
His work is remarkable.
Also dangerous.
Dangerous.
To himself.
However, the whole movie is more than enough to give you a good fright. Number 6. Cat's Eye.
Get the cat, you hemorrhoid! Get the gun!
Some of the best horror anthologies save their creepiest stories for last, presumably to leave their audiences something to mull over in their heads on the way home. What makes 1985's Cat's Eye unique, however, is that its final tale, General, was written specifically for the film, while the other 2 stories are adaptations of Stephen King. General is awesome thanks to the performance of a young Drew Barrymore, a harrowing-looking troll, and a heroic house cat named, you guessed it, General.
Yeah, well, Polly got in one good pet before that cat killed him. Good for Polly.
Felines are so rarely presented in a positive light in horror films, and we guarantee that you'll leave cat's eye singing that closing theme song with a spring in your step. Number 5, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
When I was a little girl, this was my favorite book.
The anthology format has always worked well with television shows, and one of the best to ever do it was the George Romero-produced series Tales from the Dark Side. This early 80s horror anthology would then be adapted for a feature film in 1990.
My God, Andy, it looks just like your father.
The first story in this movie, Lot 249, is a fun and macabre mummy tale featuring a very young Julianne Moore alongside Steve Buscemi and Christian Slater. Cat from Hell is a more comedic outing featuring Buster Poindexter himself, David Johansen. Meanwhile, Lover's Vow ties into our earlier entry, Quidan, with its adaptation of a Japanese horror tale of tragic, monstrous love.
You promised you'd never tell!
Number 4, Tales from the Crypt.
It is the decaying bodies and skeletons of these religious martyrs that you will see on your tour.
You don't have to have lived in England to understand this movie's pedigree and its influence on the horror anthology genre. The film is a note-perfect adaptation of those classically macabre EC Comics stories that's practically dripping with atmosphere. There's also a brilliant cast, including Peter Cushing and Dame Joan Collins, who absolutely steals the show.
What's this?
Nothing. Just a Christmas card from Daddy. Right?
Collins' opening story, and all through the house, sets the grim tone perfectly, with matricide and a killer Santa Claus, while Cushing's performance in Poetic Justice provides both tragedy and retribution. Finally, Blind Alleys will have your blood run cold with its gruesome finale. It's brilliant stuff. Number 3, Black Sabbath.
Is that one sitting behind you now? You can't be too careful, you know.
Italy's reputation as a country rich with horror history is secure thanks in part to maestros such as Mario Bava. This writer and director was a titan of the medium, and struck gold with this unsettling anthology from 1963. Black Sabbath was a horror shocker that inspired the heavy metal band of the same name, while also pushing accepted cultural standards of sex and violence during this period.
But everyone agrees on one thing. They live on blood.
The Telephone includes a lesbian relationship years before it would have been widely accepted, while the Verdulac is a gruesome monster mystery. It's the drop of water that contains the film's most iconic image, however, that of a deceased medium staring out into the void and into our very souls. Number 2, Trick or Treat.
There's another tradition. Very important.
Always check your candy.
Although this movie went straight to DVD during its initial release, this didn't stop it from becoming one of the most beloved modern horror anthology films. Director Michael Dougherty infuses the film with a respect for horror's past, while also incorporating his own creative flair.
You must really like Halloween. You mean Samhain? What?
Trick or Treat even managed to create a minor horror icon in the form of its diminutive mascot, Sam, who appears throughout each of the film's stories. This is quick-paced storytelling with a wicked sense of humour that's not afraid to get downright dark in places. It's good enough to revisit every year.
Trick or treat.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. The House That Dripped Blood. This is seminal British horror at its best.
Are you trying to tell me that this house is haunted?
Not exactly.
What a pity. I would have liked a ghost.
Body Bags. John Carpenter goes full Crypt Keeper.
More natural causes. I hate natural causes. Give me a big old stab wound to poke around in, then I'm happy. Ah, here we are.
VHS 2. Occasionally, a sequel actually outshines the original.
Run! Go!
Careful! Take, hurry!
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Amicus Productions does it again.
Dr. Shrek.
Twilight Zone, the movie. Rod Serling's vision adapted for the big screen.
Want to see something really scary?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Creepshow.
You see that crap? All that horror crap? Things coming out of crates and eating people? Dead people coming back to life? People turning into weeds, for Christ's sake?
This is it. The horror anthology to end all horror anthologies. 1982's Creepshow took inspiration from all of those deliciously demented EC Comics horror tales and updated them for the special effects generation. Both the original Creepshow and its arguably superior 1987 sequel adapt stories from Stephen King. He even penned the original's screenplay, with George Romero in the director's chair.
I can hold my breath for a long time!
Grim humour, brilliant makeup, imaginative creature designs, and a fantastic original score all come together to create horror anthology gold with Creepshow. We honestly can't recommend this one enough.
Teach you to throw away my comic books.
Which horror anthology gave you the willies as a kid? Let us know in the comments.
Don't you just love happy endings?
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.